Okay? Don't disappear, guys. What else? Caleb?
Every country would go to, but
Ready?
North Korea is like a prison there. Dictatorship. Like if you try to flee up through China, if any of them find you, they would send you back down. So the only option you have is going down to South Korea and hope that you don't get shot down.
Mm-hmm. Remember we talked about the difference between depression and oppression? Mm-hmm. These people were seeking a place where they would not be oppressed. That was something that was very attractive to them. It was called freedom. Right?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a lot more freedom than any other countries, and we're God bless this nation, so we have a lot of blessings and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And people went in on that blessing.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Later in the 1840s, more Irish people would come because of the potato famine. They were running out of food. One of their biggest crops in Ireland was potatoes, and I think the potatoes got sick or worms or something got to potatoes, and so they ran out of food quite quickly. All right, people from the Jewish faith were scattered among many countries. Across all of history, you'll see a theme where the Jewish people are pushed away, they're shunned, they're persecuted. So they began to come to Pennsylvania in the 1700s. They settled in the cities of the PA colonies. Okay, what's the biggest city at the moment? Philadelphia. The city of brotherly love. And so far it seems to be working, right?
Yeah.
Not today. Back then. Back then. Today we might have some other things to say.
Today.
Right? Okay. You guys need your second worksheet.
We have a
Colin and
What was the one?
Yeah, one more
The
okay. Go ahead and fill it out.
Jews said, what was the answer?
what?
Two
The Jews settled in
cities.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. So, we talked about the Quakers, we talked about the Germans, the Irish, the Scots, Irish Presbyterians, the Irish Catholics, and the Jews. Now we're going to talk about another people group. We're going to talk about the African Americans. And sadly, most of them did come to America as slaves. Okay? So, most African Americans originally came to Pennsylvania as slaves. However, records do show that from Christchurch in Philadelphia, that by 1717, African Americans were being baptized, married, and initiated as members of this church. Okay? So they were being allowed to be part of the church society. The free blacks. They had a lot to contribute to society, honestly. Many of them were very skilled, talented craftsmen. They had their own shops or they had their own trades. Many of the people of Pennsylvania were opposed to slavery. Why do you think that is? Why do you think many of the people in Pennsylvania were opposed to slavery? Landon,
What's opposed mean?
in opposition to. They don't like it, they don't agree with it. In fact, they would fight against it. It would be one of the things they
Because just because you have more melanin in your skin doesn't mean that you should, like your whole entire life, would just be a slave.
Okay. Okay, what else? There's a common factor between most of these groups that came to America. What is it, Chloe?
That everybody was made in God's image.
They were Christians. They would believe more in the equality of men. That they didn't want to own somebody else's life. They held human life in a higher way. Okay, they valued it higher.
Some of them probably were at one point slaves to like unfortunate.
Right, that's another thing. Being in subjection to the Catholic Church, that would also probably feel a lot like slavery, right? In many ways, you had many limits. So they wouldn't be completely clueless as to what that would maybe be like. In 1780, Pennsylvania became the first state to pass a law abolishing slavery. So, everybody give a hand for Pennsylvania. 1, 2, 3. Very good. They were the first to abolish slavery. This was 85 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. So, does anybody have a question? Which side of the Civil War they fought on? Cynthia?
One question. Does abortion mean that they aren't it's like illegal to do it?
Right. Abolish slavery. That means it's not allowed. Yep.
Are we like in the year that we became the first state to pass that? Are we like very far from the next one, second place?
I'm not for sure, to be honest. I'm not sure when the second one was.
But like wasn't the last one in after the war?
Yeah.
It's almost
Well,
like
after the
100
war,
years.
so the northern states, many of the northern states had held values that would be opposed to slavery, right? So one of the main conflicts in the Civil War would be slavery. So many of the southern states would have still had slaves through the end of the Civil War.
Yeah, but that'll be like the last slaves we had.
Right. And then the Emancipation Proclamation was made. And then all slavery throughout the entire country would have been abolished.
That would have been like 4 years after the Declaration of Independence.
1780? Yep. Everything?
Isn't abolish mean isn't it a fancy word for banning something?
You could say that in this case. Yes. Okay. We're going to move on. According to this law, all children born in Pennsylvania after March 1st, 1780 would be free. Other slaves who were still serving, they would be released when they were turned 28. Okay. So after they turned 28, they were released from slavery.
You're saying that ones if you release people or anything.
Yes. So if there were slaves that were younger than 28, they would have to work, then they would have been set free. Yeah. So if they were younger than 28, they would have worked until their 20th birthday, and they would have been set free. Okay? In 1820, Philadelphia opened the nation's first public school for African Americans. Philadelphia still has many African American neighborhoods today.
Yeah.
Okay, another group of people that would have been coming over to America would have been indentured servants. An indentured servant is somebody who has a debt they cannot physically pay with money, but they've decided that they would be servants to their debtors until they would be released from that debt. Because men and women could not afford passage to the New World, so they would have a sponsor pay their way. When they arrived in America, they would work, usually for 7 years, to pay off the cost of their trip. Yep.
They were 21, and they worked before the freedom of the slaves. When they turned 28, they probably thought that was the way. Like, oh, I'm free. Even though they didn't have enough money. Like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be depressing if you were 10?
Oh,
Yeah.
You were 10
Or
and
like 5. If you were like 5 and they passed that law.
Oh,
That
for
would
the
be like-
slaves? Yeah, that would be sad. That means they still have a long ways to go. But, on the other hand, they would have hope. Because whereas before they didn't have hope, they didn't have the guarantee that they would be freed, now they do. So now they actually have something to work for. They would have motivation. Alright, so there are many different ethnic groups that have settled in Pennsylvania. The English, the Irish, the German, the Italian, the Polish, the
I think
Zeko, yes, I can't pronounce his name. The Russian, the Swiss, the Scots, and the Africans.
I'm trying to think how you pronounce that.
Czechoslovakian. Can't get it out. I can hear it in my head. Alright, who here knows that they have German in them? Okay, so a good bit of us. What about English? English. Who here has no clue? Who here would be Irish or Scottish? A little bit. What about Italian?
Oh yeah.
Italian?
I don't know.
All the way. Polish?
Sure.
No clue.
What did you do?
Russian?
Joking.
Oh, that's the answer on. Swiss. Really?
Why
That's
is
so
Spain on here?
Alright. I think we're gonna wrap up today's lesson there.
I'm Scottish.
You're Scott?
Yeah, Puerto Rican.
Scott Irish? Alright, so you guys have some things still left on your worksheet, so go ahead and tuck those in your history book for
What about the old one?
okay. The old ones you may turn in to the top shelf. Chloe?
I have